Good evening, and welcome to another episode of Agent Paranormal. I'm your co-host, Rich, and with me is Pete, Kevin, in the engineering station. Everybody's all looking confused at each other here. And, of course, Todd as well. Yeah, Pete, gotta turn your phone out there, brother.
Historian, not tech person.
Exactly. Anytime we give Pete something that's technical, his eyes get big and he starts to sweat on the brow. He's
Poop a little.
He poops a little.
A little. Sometimes a lot.
So welcome to October. This is like our month, man. This is, if you're a paranormal investigator, this is the month, right? Because you know what? Ghosts don't haunt until October, right? They have a calendar. And they're like, wait, October 1st, we're not going to do anything until October 1st. All right, it's October. Let's start banging the shells and making noises and see if we can get some ghost hunters into the house, right? To be really honest with you, most of the investigations we've done in the past were pretty much outside of October.
Yeah, because we're usually busy during October.
Yeah, doing events and lectures and traveling.
Should we give a quick disclaimer? Someone was already banging on the door here, so if you hear loud explosions, we're not actually under attack. They want to detonate some kind of fireworks near us. So just a heads up.
Yeah, and they wanted a lighter, too, didn't they? Yeah. Hey, man, we got some fireworks to detonate. You got a lighter?
So just a heads up.
That'd be the one person that I would not offer a lighter to if they knocked on my door and said, hey, man, I got some massive fireworks I want to blow out. You got a lighter? Yeah, no, we're good. But you're smoking a cigarette. That's okay.
I guess the best thing, you're actually filming it, so as it comes through the window and hits me in the crotch, and you at least get it on film.
I'm awful close to you.
Switch over to the close-up on Pete.
What are you looking for, Pete?
What's that noise?
It's probably the heating system.
Oh, yeah, it did get cold, huh? It's November.
It's October.
November?
It's October. So,
how you guys doing? How you doing? You doing good?
I'm doing well.
I'm doing good.
I'm doing okay.
You doing good, empty chair? Okay.
Empty chair looks like it's doing pretty good. See? Empty chair.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
No, it's for our special guest tonight. We have a ghost that's going to be joining our show. So
it goes by the name of Heat.
Yeah.
Because when the heat kicks on, that's when the ghosts come.
Yeah, he's actually sitting there. Yeah. I have his bio on my iPad, and so we're going to introduce him and you know. Yes, absolutely. We're not going to really know when he's talking until we hear his voice come through the headphones, but because he's not going to give us any hand gestures or anything over the top like that. So
you gentlemen love the horror movies, but have you been watching like the Facebooks that there's going to be a female adult star making a paranormal television show?
I tell you,
who's recently been in the news?
Paranormal reality TV has no shame. They're looking for any angle that they can get.
So if any producers are listening, let's give us a call because we're up to the challenge.
We're not porn stars, though, unless there's something about you in your past life that I'm unaware of. I mean, could be. I mean, the internet wasn't only invented like 20 years ago, and
there was that one time back in '95 back on Noise Ave, but
we would have saw that '95 where we were online in '95.
I think the statute of limitations have expired by now.
You hope so. All right, let's get to it here. Tonight we want to talk about our cases from our case file, as we have done in the last episode. And tonight we're going to talk about the Hulbert house. The Hulbert house was one of the first cases that I was involved in, where essentially I actually saw a full-bodied apparition, a shadow person. I got some amazing EVPs. Walked into a portal, which was an intense experience. That's actually how we got the episode of the Hulbert house aired on to Sci-Fi Channel on Haunted Collector by bringing John Zaffis into the Hulbert house when he was in town.
Episode 2.
Yeah.
Season 2, Episode 2, Haunted Inn.
And Peter Leonard, our guest celebrity sitting to my left, was actually on that episode.
Season 2, Episode 2, The Haunted Inn.
And you couldn't get a picture of you on set so that I can show our audience?
I don't think we can.
Have no proof.
I don't think we can because I'm owned by NBC, I believe it is, for all of time throughout every known and unknown universe. But
I'm sure we could have got a picture of you, Peter. Come on.
It's out there. Just Google me.
I guess we'll do this then. Yeah.
Google Peter Leonard, superstar paranormal
Hey,
investigator.
that was a trying night. I had to push that ghosty ghost back into the building. We do what we got to do to keep a place haunted.
I remember one night, before we get into the evidence and talk about the case, I remember one night we did an investigation. It was in winter. It was like January. And when we got done, it was cold. I mean, really cold. When we got done, it was like 25 below zero in Boonville. I remember I started my car about 30 minutes before we were going to leave and just let it run. I made sure I filled the gas tank before I left and let it run for 30 minutes. Driving home, we were going through the back roads, through farmlands, through like Ava and all these places that come down the hill to Rome. And I remember looking up on my little dash cam thing on my Jeep, and it said minus 38 below zero. It's like, oh my God, that's cold. I was going to pull over and get out of the car just to see what that felt like. While my passenger's like, no, oh my God, don't stop. If we break down, we'll die. There wasn't a house for miles. That would have been really bad. I mean, it would have been like The Shining. They would have found me nestled like this next to a tree, frozen solid, man. You remember that night?
Rich tour.
I was.
You should. You drove back with no gas in your car. How the hell you made it
Pretty
home?
sure it was frozen. My temperature thing said negative 44, and I thought I was going to be found frozen to the highway next to the cow I was eating because I was trying to get in there to stay warm. You know, like just.
You probably just like Star Wars, cut him open and crawled inside of his belly to stay warm.
My God, we made it to the gas station there on Turn Road. I was like, oh, my God, that was the longest 15 miles.
You're lucky you didn't have any water in that gas tank, man, because you would have sucked that up in the fuel filter, and that would have been the end of you guys. the end. Because, Pete, even when it's minus 50 to below zero or, 20 degrees, he wears the same exact clothes. He has that one fleece pullover he wears. That's it.
I'm fat and I sweat. It works.
He'll wear a short sleeve shirt, and he comes right out with that little North Face zip up fleece. 46 below zero or 20 degrees. He's still got the same exact fleece. I don't know about you, but I have a couple of those. The wind blows right through those things. And
it feels so good.
You go below like 40 degrees, as far as I'm concerned, they become useless.
Yeah.
But he stays warm. God bless him, man. I don't know how he does it.
So good.
So good.
No, that was action. And you know me, I usually don't speed. I was getting up to like 85 miles an hour and just coasting, like figuring, hopefully, if I run out of gas, I'm just going to at least coast to something.
Well, once you broke the crest of that hill, going down into Rome was all downhill, man. You'd have been fine. You would have coasted all the way to Stanwix or Westmoreland.
It was so bad. The Boonville Fire Department, just before we left, they went and dumped all their tankers out on the middle of Main Street there. So it was instant ice as soon as it's coming out of the fire trucks. Just like, why would you dump that on Main Street?
Weren't they making like a little skating rink or something in the center of town?
Well, they did once they dumped it, but 500 gallons of water.
I remember there was no place inside of that Hulbert house that I could get warm, except those fireplaces in the back banquet room. I pulled up a chair and they had all the fireplaces going. Oh, they were so toasty warm just to sit there. Now I know what the people back in before electricity and all that kind of stuff felt like, just sitting in front of that fire, man, just staying warm.
So for all you budding investigators or people just getting into it, I call that like our golden era. That was like the best of the best, going to the Hulbert house. And we were there, at least 40, 50 times? I mean, we did some real scientific study there.
A lot. We were a lot.
Yes, I said scientific study. These people, I've been there 3 times. We crapped our pants 50 at the Hulbert. That's the one thing I could say. Once the family sold the Hulbert, it had an entirely different feeling. Like whatever was attached to whatever was attached to what was attached to attach, it just left. Like, right? That was the one we brought Kevin to. It just nothing happened.
Yeah,
well,
I mean, that was Maeve and I first.
The only time
like, we're going to take you to the Hulbert house because you always get something there. And
nothing.
We get up there and we're like, this place is quiet. Like,
do you ever think maybe it's you?
It might be.
Well, I was trying to be nice to him, Rich.
I've been on several. I've got into places where I've got the most incredible evidence. I brought Kevin in. It's like nothing even here.
Are you our new black hole?
I mean, there's plates flying at us and everything, and we come in with Kevin, it's like everything's normal. I mean, it's just calm as can be.
I think it needs time to get used to different people. Because, I mean, Rutgers, that did that to me, too. There was probably 3 or 4 times that we went into Rutgers after we got in the group with you guys, and we were just like, nothing going on. And then that one night where Rutgers like, tonight's your night, we're going to pick on you. And then everything started happening to me. I saw the shadow figures. I had something pull on the back of my coat. I had everything.
Yeah.
So I had some other experiences while we were at Hulbert that were not really. Some of it was paranormal or could have been, and I'm not sure about the other one, but we'll talk about that.
Yeah, we're gonna talk about the Hulbert tonight, and we actually have evidence that we're gonna share with you. We got some pretty good evidence, as a matter of fact.
Do you have a memorable moment? Like, is there one that sticks out for you above all? I mean, I know we were there so much, but
I think there's 3 things that pop into my mind that will always stay with me about the Hulbert house. Number 1 was when I saw the little girl. When Pete and I went up there to have a meeting with the owners, setting up an event, and we went up there and were treated to their delicious pizza, which, be quite honest, a frozen pizza would have been even better.
I've never had pizza that was both burnt and raw at the same time.
Yeah.
I told you not to eat the chicken wings. We almost lost you that night.
The chicken wings were bleeding. I mean, I don't know if that's a paranormal thing, you know? They show movies like they bite something, next thing you look down, there's maggots. Well, these chicken wings are bleeding. And, I mean, I closed my eyes and went like this, and they were still bleeding. So, I mean, there was nothing paranormal there. It was just that no one knew how to cook the chicken wings. I mean, we could have died. I mean, that's some serious stuff, man. I mean, that really is. So, when we were eating, as my story continues here, we're sitting there, and the owners had 2 daughters. And sometimes they were there, sometimes they weren't. That night, they weren't there. Because as I sat and ate, I looked into the adjoining ballroom through an opening, and there was a window on the left and a window on the right. And I look, and there's this completely black figure of a little girl. You could tell the shape, the little head and everything, looking through the window. Because there was a light behind there from the bar. And I'm like, Eileen, is your daughter here? It's like, no. Why? Why do you ask that? They're home. It's a school night, because it was like a Wednesday night. I go, there's a silhouette of a girl looking through that window. And she's like, no. And I'm like, oh, this is weird. And then as we kept talking, I looked, and all of a sudden I saw the black shadow figure walk past through the opening to the other window and then look through that window. And she was being inquisitive. She was watching to see what we're doing. You know, who are these people? And I think she was looking at Pete and I, because Pete and I had been there previous times trying to communicate with her. And we got some EVP. So maybe she's like, I need to go check these dudes out. So that was pretty memorable. The other one was up on the 3rd floor, which was the hot spot. That's the place everyone loved, where the door slammed on me. And I think we have a clip of that we'll show later. Where I walked in the room, and the door slammed shut, which if you're by yourself in a creepy old house and the door slams shut, that's kind of, it raises the hairs.
But not really once. 3 times that I remember with you. 3 times, not once. It's like that door did not like Rich.
No. We tried to debunk it, you know, basically, is there a breeze? Is the building slanted? You know, I mean, if you breathe, does it, you know, I mean, we tried a bunch of various things. I mean, some were sort of outlandish, but some made sense, and we still couldn't do it.
And the floor was actually warped, where the door, you had to actually clear the warp, or the door wouldn't close. So whatever moved it through the warp. So, I mean, that's... But yeah, the first time we were up there, me and a couple were at the front of the hallway. Rich was walking towards the back of the hallway. As soon as he got near the door,
yep. Yeah,
there was a Zaffis event. You were standing in the hallway. Everyone was in the grant room or whatever they called it, and the door slammed behind you when you were standing in the hallway. I got to find that video. We got that one too, but
oh, good.
And then we got the one there where we were filming for the other show.
Oh, yeah.
That we got the door slamming on you.
Our hit documentary series. And then the third one, just to cap it off, the third one was the portal. When we found that portal and you walk into it, never felt anything like that in my life. It was an incredible amount of energy. Incredible. I mean, it's like you walk in, all of a sudden the meters are going all off, and you could feel like you're standing next to an electric generator. Very powerful electric generator. You could feel the buzz, and you could feel yourself almost like humming, like vibrating. It was that intense. And just to make sure that was really what's going on, and there wasn't something funky down below, like, I don't know, some engine or something running that we didn't hear, or electrical fault or something, we went downstairs, and we had someone stand where the vortex was. Someone who didn't even feel it. Like, I don't feel anything. Good, stand right here and put a chair there. And we went down, and we found it again, and it's like, wow, this is intense. And, of course, when we found it, we looked down on the floor, and there's a door laying on the floor. Like a door to the other side. I mean, it's just like, I mean, you're like looking at it like, oh my God, that's so representative. What's going on? And then we're like, okay, we're at the spot, pound on the floor, and it's like, boom, boom, and all of a sudden a little dust came on our heads. They're like right above us. So
and then like idiots, we do what we tell everyone to never do. I'm like, oh, let's open the door.
Let's look inside. You know, there's going to be a hole, like in the Supernatural TV show when Sam and Dean fought Lucifer, and then they were spinning, and they fell into a hole. So, which is really, really lame how they did that special effect. Anyways, so those are the three most memorable events for me. How about yourself, Peter?
Do you remember those huge white spiders that had mold all over them in the basement? They were like tarantulas, but it was actually just the mold that made them look like they were 3 inches big. They were just like,
So that's one of your most memorable
No, not
moments?
at all.
The giant white tarantulas?
So I'm going to go with 3 that actually really aren't paranormal, but they were just hilarious moments. One was when 2 of them are actually with the John Zaffis event. We always got to bring John Zaffis into the conversation, right? Was when we left you upstairs on the 3rd floor and we all just went downstairs. You had passed out during the investigation, and we just left him up there, and we turned every light off up there and took his flashlight. But
in my defense, we were down at the bar. The Hulbert House gave us private use of the bar for the event. They didn't open to the public. So we were down there pounding red apple ales and, you know, one after another. Even Zaffis was feeling pretty good. So we're drinking, we slam down the glasses. Let's go up to the 3rd floor and investigate. We're all drunk. Okay. So we grab our stuff, we go up there, and I'm like, this is like late. This is like 2:33 in the morning or something like that. And I remember just sitting in a chair, and I was like, I just passed out. And then I don't know how long I was up there. It could have been a minute, could have been 10 minutes, 3 hours. And I woke up, and I'm like, I didn't even have a flashlight. I'm like, oh, God. You talk about creepy. Walking around that place by yourself, no flashlight, just going by the light of the moon that's coming through the windows to try to, and it was a long hallway, you know, going down. It was like The Shining, you know, all the doors. You're like, I got to go past all those doors to get to the door I need to go. Yeah, that was pretty intense. I mean, that was when I walked pretty quickly. I ran into things and stuff, but and then I got down, I was pissed at these guys. I'm like, jerks, what the hell, man?
hey, we kept John from drawing anatomical caricatures on your face with a Sharpie.
Yeah,
so,
I'm sure there would have been some penises and mustaches and everything else on my head. So, okay, so that's number 1. What's number 2?
Same event. So me and Mike were outside, and there were like 10 of the participants, and they were talking to John. But me and Mike had missed like part of the most important part of the conversation. So we heard one of the ladies say to him, she's like, so what happens when it's all over? And he's like, well, that's it. When it's over, it's over. It's done. There's nothing. So me and Mike are thinking they're talking about the afterlife. I'm like, wait a minute. You're a ghost hunter and you don't believe there's anything after death? Yeah, he yelled at us about that. He's like, make sure you know the whole story. Make sure you know the whole story. He was talking about if the show had got canceled. They were asking what happens if something happens with the show.
Oh, okay.
And he's like, well, if it's over, it's over. We thought he was talking about life. We're like, it's it. It's over. There's nothing.
And I cannot wait for number 3. What's number 3, Peter?
All right, this one's real. Well, we've already talked many times about the kid who talked to Eileen's grandmother there at the Zaffis event. That was another great one. We don't have to regurgitate that.
Oh, could you imagine
My God, the look on his face when we brought him down to that picture. Stop messing with me. Like, she died in 1964. No, she didn't.
What do you think? We just went to Hobby Lobby and say, hey, there's a picture of an old lady. Let's put that on the wall. Does she look like this?
Never seen anybody leave so fast. Like, he just turned like a weird pale color, like, ugh.
She wasn't was she transparent when you were talking to her? No. She's friendly and smiling and talking to me. She had a silver dress on, and the damn picture had her in a silver dress. He freaked. Left. And he came from Connecticut.
Mm-hmm.
That was a long drive back.
He left his friend there. Just drove up.
Yeah, I wish that were happened to me at some point. I'm just like, but I was just talking to them, and they were solid. I've seen full body apparition, but I could also tell that they were spirits. But I really want to like get into a conversation with one and be like, yeah, okay, have a good day, and then be like, there was nobody there.
But it was so funny how it came. We were just talking. He goes, "Yeah." He goes, "Hey, I met this nice old lady up at the second floor at the in the hallway. She was sitting there where you go up the doorway to the third floor." I go, "Oh, yeah, what'd she say?" "Oh, how are you, honey? Are you having a good time and this and that? And how are things?" And she was a sweet little lady. I go, "She the owner?" I go, "She was the owner." Past tense. And then he's like, "Don't even mess with me." And then Pete's like, "You need to come with me." And Pete took him down. Pete took pleasure in that. I could tell Pete's like, he was waiting for this kid to lose it, and he did. He lost it. And
so much for being a paranormal investigator.
Yeah. I wish, like you, I wish I saw her too. I wish I had a conversation with her. I had a lot of questions, like, what's it like? Are you itchy? I mean, I got that from what the hell is it? Justice League. When they asked Superman, how was it being dead? Honestly, it's kind of itchy. So, but could you imagine that? That in itself should basically change your whole perspective and take you from being a skeptic to a full believer. To me, that'd be exciting because what does that prove? You know what it proves to me? There's an afterlife. She can come back when she wants to. And she was there talking to people. I mean, tell me that's not one of the most amazing things ever. I mean, trust me, I've seen pictures of Bigfoot, I've seen flying saucers, I've seen ghost videos, but to sit there and talk to someone who looks just like us, has been dead for 35 years, and have a conversation is an amazing thing. Mm-hmm. Amazing. I mean, I don't know if anybody in our listening audience agrees with me, but...
call us in, send us a story, comment.
Is this a real story? Yes. Did we see it? No. But it was real to him enough where he was so scared, he got in his car and drove all the way back to Connecticut and didn't ask for a penny. This event wasn't cheap. I mean, they're paying like $300, $350 for a weekend ticket with John Zaffis, which included meals, his room, investigations, classes, workshops by John Zaffis, by our group. So, yeah, he got out of there, man.
He got his money's worth. I mean, he probably got more than anybody that weekend.
Oh, yeah, I would have walked in and spent like 5 minutes there and saw that. I would have been, thank you so much. This has been the most amazing thing. I'm going to go home.
I paid $300 to see a real ghost and talk to it.
Yeah. You know how much money we could make if we could guarantee that? $300, you go up to the top of the second floor, she'll be right there.
I would love to do another weekend event like that. I think that's where we excel. That was really fun. I really enjoyed that.
That event went off without a hitch, Pete. Pete and I went right down to putting together the menus for the meals and everything. I mean, everything went down perfect. It really, really did.
Even like the downtime, you know, like nobody really, it was like a group, all 30 people was like, right, 30, 32, I forgot what the limit was. But nobody ever left each other. It was we didn't sleep with each other, but I mean, like in the downtime,
did we?
Everybody's at the bar, everybody's eating, everybody went out to smoke. It was like just a very friendly family type.
We had a meet and greet the first night. John was there, full bar, DJ. I mean, it was great. I mean, that's one of the very best, I think, events I think that we put on. I mean, that was where we actually planned all of it. And the people who own the Hulbert house just gave us pretty much access to the whole weekend. Turned off their open to the public business, which is what they relied on, and just gave it to us. Mm-hmm. And
people got to investigate nonstop. It's not like we had a full schedule. I mean, we had little things planned or presentations here and there, but people could just wander and they did their own thing. And
the whole weekend just wandered. I mean, people were coming up from the basement or up the third floor. Whenever they had a moment or they thought, oh, I want to go try this, they just went and did it. Mm-hmm. We were pretty much locked down that whole weekend.
We should see if we could get the Adirondacks or something nice in the Adirondacks.
I love the Adirondacks. That would be cool.
We should contact that one place and see if we could relive The Shining for a weekend. Be trapped in the Adirondacks with the snow and food. Okay. So the one that actually... So I was like joking about we investigate scientifically. I know that's not a science. But we broke out the fog machine. And we flooded the banquet room with kerosene fog. And I've never seen anything like this. I'm pissed. I'm sorry that they lost the footage of this. Pissed because I don't think anybody's ever captured it. It's always when something's genuine, the stuff gets lost. God donkey. We set the laser grids up, and right where Rich previously identified the vortex, the spiritual doorway, whatever you want to call it, all of a sudden the room, which was filled with smoke, just started slowly spinning. Slowly spinning, and it just started to compact itself. It was like 3 feet off the ceiling, 3 feet off the ground, and all that smoke just compressed right above where they said that vortex, and it just spun. Not fast, just enough to... And we're just sitting there looking at it like, all right, that's pretty interesting.
Yeah.
So they went and they opened the back door. I don't know whose head these things fit. They're like Bigfoot or something. Like they're even big for me, and I got a huge...
His name is Daryl.
Is it? Okay, because it's like they're sliding off my head. But... So they opened the back door to the banquet hall. So you would think as soon as the airstream's disrupted, it would suck right out. It just kept spinning. It took, what, about 2 minutes before finally you saw a little stream peel out into the outer door, and then it sucked the smoke right out of... But it just spun. And we had all that on tape because we watched it right after they filmed it, and then they lost it when they were putting their movie together. It's like, you son of a biscuit. The one thing you had to lose, we could never duplicate it after that. We could get it where the smoke would condense, but it never spun like that. That was just...
When I took John Zaffis there to show him the place, he was in town. He was at Utica College doing a lecture. And I said, I got to take you up to this place in Boonville. It's just north of Utica. It's an amazing place. I mean, so much happens. All right, Richie, take me. So I took him up there. He went into the place. He's like, wow. He goes, Richie, there's about, he said, there's got to be at least 30 to 40 spirits in this place. At least. And then I said, what do you think? You got that new show, Haunted Collector, you're on. Would this be a great episode? And he's like, I'm going to go back and talk to the production company. So he did. And they contacted me and said, who do we get in touch with at the Hulbert House? And I put him in touch with the owners. And they sent over about a 300-page contract for her to sign. And there's so much stuff in there. It's like, you know, I can't say anything.
Mine was 99 pages.
Yeah. So, anyways, what happened is the show filmed there, and Boonville got some recognition, and some of the stuff that we did as a group got recognized on national TV. Pete was a representative of the group that we had at the time, and he acted as a historian. So, moving forward from there, before we go into the evidence and talk about the Hulbert House stuff, why don't you give us a little bit of historical background information on this place so people can know what the significance this place has in Boonville and in general to the history of our area?
We don't know. It's one of those mysterious places. We don't really know how old it is. We know that the actual structure there now was built between 1812, started in 1812, finished around 1821-ish. The man who built it built a couple of other well-known buildings around here. For a few years ago, we all went and ate at the Colgate Inn. That was also the same architect who did the Hulbert House, and you could see the similarities in structure. And so, oh Lord, you put me on the spot here. Was his last name Hulbert? Maybe it was. No, I can't think of his name. But he built that portion. So the property itself is on something known as Jackson's Hill. Boonville itself is actually, one of its original names had to do with Egypt. Boonville came about when all the Dutch started settling in the area. Its real name was Courtenier, was what it was first started, and then it changed over to Boonville after the man who pretty much bought most of the land, Boone, not the wine people. So prior to the Hulbert house, it's believed there is a tavern that was on site during the 1700s, probably during the fur trading area, because you're on a river there, the Black River. They believe that was a place called Jackson's Tavern on Jackson's Hill. So if you go back and study all the history of Fort Bull in Rome, New York, when the French were coming down on their raid, they actually mentioned staying at a place called Jackson's Hill. So for some reason, that area must have been settled. That's why I say we don't really know what was going on there, because we were in the wilderness at that point. So you have that house. It changed ownership, as most things do. It eventually, Ephraim Owens built the Hulbert house. And then it went through a different series of hands. When the Civil War started, the Boonville Regiment, the 97th New York, they were headquartered there basically throughout the winter because they were mustered in the service in February. And then when weather broke a little bit, they got them on trains and got them down to Washington. So there's that little touch of Civil War-ness to it, because one of the other groups in the area have a photo of them capturing a Civil War soldier there. It was pretty stable in ownership right up until about the 40s, when the Italian gentleman Garabino took over, which then passed Eileen's family, the Daskowitz family, and then whatever's going on with it now. I centered all the research for Haunted Collector on the Garabino era and before. And a friend of mine at the time, who's now passed away, his father was the probation officer for most of upstate central New York. And his father let me look through all of his records. So anytime they went on a raid, anytime they busted anybody bootlegging or doing illegal booze, he would record what they did in his journal. Ironically, nothing and no arrests were ever made at the Hulbert house, but the hotel down the street many times. I forgot what that's called. Was that the Boonville? Because there's another little hotel where people were staying, too.
It was the Boonville Hotel.
So there were many arrests there, but nobody ever touched the Italian owners of the Hulbert house. And further up in... Oh, God, what's the time? I'm sorry, it's been a busy weekend. I just got back from Cooperstown doing some business. What's the next town up where they stayed? West Leiden? Is that where the big railroad depot is? So there were many, many arrests of illegal booze up at that railroad station between them and Canada. So it makes you wonder what kind of organized crime was going on there. And that was one of the theories with a lot of the women that we believed we were communicating with at the Hulbert house had something to do, that they were trapped in that system of business, if you want to call it that.
You think it possibly could have been a house of
ill repute,
but why would the child spirit be there? I mean,
that could be in the 1800s. She could be a lot older than that, right. 1920s, 40 period. And once Eileen's family took over, to me, I call that the stable era. That's when they renovated everything, restored everything, and it was mostly for dining and lodging. And
yeah,
like I said, I don't know what's going on now, but it seems like years before it was for a very rowdy crowd. A lot of transient, I believe they said log workers, canal workers, was all types of transient jobs, basically, and based on the season.
Right.
What is the yeah. Yeah, no. So, yes, and it's not a hotel in the sense... I'm trying not to be disrespectful. I'm not that I'm trying to be, but it's not like what you would think of as a hotel. Like, there's shared bedrooms. Like, having an event, that was a big problem because half the rooms don't have a bathroom. But that was common for the 1800s. It's literally a bedroom. And so that was hard, though, not having a bath. I'm like fixated on the bathroom thing, but
I got a question for you. So, in there they have some ledgers in there that they say
I was just going,
go to the Civil War, and they say that some of the guests on there are like General Grant, I think Sheridan maybe, and a few of the other ones. I mean, what relevance did that have, and is that legit or?
See, I was trying to, not having a stroke on the air. I was trying to like mentally figure out how we went from like one of the most famous, well-known, frequented locations in that 1880, 1890 period to falling into a totally opposite 180-degree change of clientele, if you know what I mean. Yes, so General Grant stayed there. Horace Greeley stayed there. Phil Sheridan, these are all names of people. Phil Sheridan's brother apparently lived in Lowville, so he may have frequented quite a bit just going through. And that one room upstairs, they always called the Grant room, so that must have been where he slept overnight, I'm guessing. And yeah, that was the place to be. And all of those buildings built by Owens all became very famous hotels, like the Colgate Inn. I mean, that's still, far better condition than the Hulbert House, but that was just the upkeep and the money. But it also has the same type of history to it. It's a very luxurious place. And that's why I say it's hard to believe how it went from that in one generation to something completely different. So yeah, you have your famous 1880s. You have a lot of wealthy visitors. I mean, I would have loved to have sat there and gone through ledger after ledger, but there were like 300 of them in one room. All these red leather-bound books that had everything there. When Garabino, I may be pronouncing his name wrong, I apologize. When his renovations went through, they covered up much of the original 1812 structure. And they literally just went in and walled things up. So in the back dining room, when Rich and I first went and met with Eileen, there's that huge fireplace that was in there. And then it had the side oven, and it had the stuffed owls. It had the huge iron kettles. That was all walled in and closed up until Eileen's grandmother opened all that back up. So there were a lot of structural and cosmetic changes. Does that contribute to the history? Like, does that get things all ginned up? You know, like they were just bottling that history back in? I don't know.
You know, until we were investigating.
There were a lot of areas like that. They were just covered up, and then they reopened.
Right. But it went from like a hotel in the sense like a people staying there, like I'm going to get a room in Boonville, to a hotel where people were actually living there. And when the Dasquich family had it, they actually had people living there. There was somebody who was living there when we were investigating it who died not...
yeah, just before we went in the last time.
Yeah, just before we went in. And there was actually someone that was living in the basement, too, wasn't there?
Yes.
I mean, why?
I don't know how.
I mean, exactly. Why? Why? I mean, it was a creepy basement. You'd walk down there every night and go and close yourself in and go to bed down there. And it was cold down there, too. And
the basement, too, is where you can see evidence of this may have been built on an older building, because there's the foundation that the 1812 building's on. But the closer you get to the center of the structure, you start seeing a handmade stone foundation, which would be more symbolic of something from a century before or 50 years before. And yeah, he was living in that area with the heater and all the... I don't know how or why, or didn't that glass bang a few times? A couple times we were down there. The glass on the door where that person used to stay.
Possibly. I don't recall it.
To me, again, I got to bring up John because it happened under John. me and Alex were down there with his group of people during a different event. I think this was the Hulbert one when the show came on. Me and Alex are standing against that wall, basically. And Zaphis had all the people around the vortex area. I thought Alex was standing right next to me. I literally thought Alex was standing right next to me. I said something to Alex, and then I hear a voice come from over here. He's like, yeah, what's wrong, Pete? I'm like, I thought he's literally standing right here. So I look, and in my mind pictures, I saw someone wearing a World War II greenish color uniform, that greenish brown, standing right next to me. And at the same time I seen that, John was talking to someone through his spirit box, and then it just started naming every member of his family. Ed, Lorraine, and it started going through his mother, his aunts, his uncle, and John's like, just started swearing at the box, turned the radio off, walked and left. It's me, Alex, and like 20 people in the basement. We're like, okay, the world's like most eminent demonologist just left the basement. Do we stand here or do I run first? Like, what?
Yeah, I mean, that should be a sign. Like, he runs in terror, and everybody's like, what do we do now? Oh, just keep investigating. Okay. Well, our safety net's gone, so...
I didn't really know what was going on. Then we get upstairs, and he's, oh, that's so-and-so, whatever spirit is. He just started naming every member of my family, and I'm like, oof. But he was literally going through, like, Ed, Lorraine, Bob, and it's like, okay. I found that weird. But they had also said they saw somebody wearing a uniform. And I'm like, but here I am. I'm thinking it's Alex. Alex is over here. Here's the thing standing next to me. So that's another memorable moment in the basement.
So it sums up between Pete's experiences, my experiences, and some of the stories we told, that the place is pretty active. I mean, there's a lot going on. We didn't imagine this stuff. We've got some audio clips and stuff we'll share as well. But what's interesting is we went in, Kevin, would you say 2 years ago?
Yeah, it was more than that. Probably 3 or 4.
Maybe 3?
Guessing at least 4 at this point, right?
3 or 4 years ago. Now, this is after everything went down with John Zaffis event, the filming of the show, everything. And we went in to do an investigation, and the place was so peaceful. It was, you could walk around and you didn't feel energy anywheres. You didn't feel, I mean, we couldn't capture any audio. We didn't come across any vortexes, any, cold spots, nothing. It was just as calm as could be. And now there's a reason for that, I think. And we're going to talk about one of the pieces of evidence that we're going to show may explain why that is there. Because if you have a spirit that's there, a very powerful spirit, very powerful energy source, okay, that could be causing all these problems, and then that spirit decides to leave, maybe go through the portal, maybe move on to the light, whatever have you, it's going to leave like a calm feeling. And we're wondering if that spirit is the reason why there was a portal. They're coming in there because they were attracted to that spirit, to that energy. It's not uncommon when we've done investigations where we're dealing with a younger spirit, a child spirit, as it claims to be, that there are other spirits surrounding the child spirit. Some are trying to protect it, but also, Pete and I have had experiences where some of them are trying to keep it there, like hold it hostage. And I don't know why that is. I mean, is that something that do they feed off of that? I mean, obviously, who knows? But Hulbert House was one of those places. When we spoke to the girl that we've talked about, when I explained that I saw her, she said there were spirits there. They were keeping her there. And I think we got a name of a spirit. I mean, John, for some reason, comes to my mind. But we've also done other ones where the child spirit was surrounded by protectors, if you will. I think one was a gentleman that died. It was in his like late 20s. They got in a car accident. Was there protecting one of these spirits? I remember that. I think that was at the shops at the finish line. We were talking to a child spirit there, and there was a young man. I think he might have been a trooper or a policeman or something that died, and he was there protecting that child. So it's kind of weird when you start to look at this. You try to figure out why, how does this structure work? What's the hierarchy? I mean, what do they do? It's like they form little groups. They have a little Facebook page. They all go on and become friends. I mean, Ghost Book. I mean, we try to put the pieces of the puzzle together, and try
and steal the name Ghost Book. We're gonna copyright that. That belongs to us.
Yes.
And this is also one of those cases where all those stories you hear, we were able to put them into a different perspective. Like, do you remember the crazy Russian? They called him Teddy. Theodore, whatever his last name was, who wasn't even Russian, he was Polish. But he's, and you hear the stories that these people would tell of the crazy Russian. The first thing that comes to your mind, like you're dealing with Brutus from Popeye, like, there was a guy who died on the 3rd floor, and he threw him down 3 flights of stairs because he said he wasn't carrying him out. So he, threw him down 1 flight, threw him down the next, threw him in the street. And these were the stories people were telling us. We regurgitated that a few times during presentations. And then this guy who knew him for 45 years came up and started talking to him. He's like, are you talking about Teddy? And I'm like, he's like, I've known him for 40. He's like, him and his wife were the nicest people in the world. Whatever club their church was part of, he was part of all this stuff. So I'm getting all these sainthood stories. Meanwhile, everybody who's regurgitating the ghost stories, you got Brutus over here, and this guy's got angel wings, and it's but there was one clip I sent you. We probably can't play it. I don't know if you can hear it, but I agitated him where he did tell me to F off.
I think I have it.
And you can almost, also with that, I didn't give you the other clips. We have him talking in Polish. So you're running the spirit box, and then there was a Nastrovia. Interesting. But yeah, I don't know if anybody shared similar stories with you. It's so we're telling all these stories of the different characters that were related to us, but none of them really were actually the type of people. They said they were...
Stories change,
his ashes were in the urn up in the desk, and the ashes have disappeared, but don't look into the mirror, because the mirror at the end of the hall is going to suck you in. And oh, no, Joe the Russian. Teddy was a different one. Teddy was the bartender that was the longtime bartender of the Hulbert.
Try and play that clip. This is my first time hearing it, so...
All right, so let's go through the evidence, okay? Let's play some clips, okay? I'm not really sure which ones Pete uploaded, but let's go through the...
I don't know. I just got a jumble of stuff here, and I'm just going to start going willy-nilly. So...
Okay, well, hold on. Let's have some structure to this. So, there's 3 clips that I want to start off with, okay? One is us doing an investigation, speaking to someone named, I think it's Jim, right?
Yes. I got one named Jim here. Let's
play that clip if we could. If everyone who's listening to this, just if you got headphones, whatever, or hold the speaker up to your ear, and you can hear some of the stuff. The ones that we have are pretty good. They're pretty clear. So
you're gonna get my honest reaction because I haven't heard a lot of these. So, all right, here we go.
Can you tell us your name? Jim again.
Okay, so what you heard was the spirit box running through his channels, probably FM, and we asked a question, and we got a name. Play it again, please.
Can you tell us your name? Jim again.
Now, people are like, well, it could have been a radio station. That's my spirit box. My spirit box normally runs about 200 milliseconds scan. So that means every radio station it hits does a 200 millisecond pause to listen. That's not enough for the word Jim to come out. So it's kind of that's what you get from the radio stations. So I could hear it as clear as day. And obviously the investigators in the room heard it as clear as day. But again, when we heard it, we still didn't say, oh my God, that's amazing. We still recorded it because every time we do a Spirit Box session, we put a Tascam, which are our brand of audio recorders we use. we record it, we go back, we listen to it, and we clip it and do some modifications. So modifications, I mean, is like we'll increase the amplitude or something along those lines. We don't mess with the integrity of the clip. We just try to make it easier to decipher. So
get an audio clip of somebody saying Jim, and we'll drag it in and kind of.
Yep, there you go. Kevin,
we can do that.
Yeah, just say Jim. Okay, there we go. Drop him in there. So that I thought was really cool. So apparently someone named Jim we were talking to. Now, that was at the Hulbert house. Is Jim at the Hulbert house? We don't know. We don't know if we're talking to a spirit that's 72 miles away or sitting in the room across from us. We don't know. So, all right. So one of the most amazing clips that that we pulled from our previous group, basically, Nicole, our other member, is actually in this clip. And this clip, basically, you can hear a little girl saying, "Help me." It's clear as day. Now, this is something we played a lot in our presentations. So it's going to be Nicole, and then there was another girl named Raven, who was actually Nicole.
Two Nicoles.
Two Nicoles. So go ahead and play that.
Is someone in here with us? Can you make yourself known? I'm not turning my flashlight off in here.
So in between the two Nicoles, you heard a little girl saying, "Help me." I mean, that goes right in line. It goes right on par with what we seen there. There was another group that actually took a picture in the basement, and it looks like a little girl. Of course, our previous group tried to debunk it. Well, it's a mop handle, and then there's this, and then I was like,
fire extinguisher.
Yeah, I'm like, are you kidding me? Seriously? So, because basically some people just want to debunk it to prove that it has nothing to do with it. Right? There's no such thing as ghosts. That is essentially a mop bucket and this and that. Yet these type of people still go to church on Sundays and pray to the Holy Ghost. I mean, I find that very contradicting. You know what I mean?
If you don't want to believe, why are you wasting time?
Exactly. I'm not saying it's legit, and you should look at things like, is that legit or not? But you dismiss anything that's paranormal, then you go to church and say, "Our Father," and the Holy Ghost, and you're praying to someone to give you things.
I also think it was a lot of trying to debunk other people's work to try and push your work up higher.
Yeah, and we don't know.
We don't need to do that.
No, we see something amazing. I don't care who gives it to us. Lets us review it. I mean, that's amazing. I mean, we have a picture in the Rucker Mansions of 3 faces looking out that was given to us, and I have that, and I always give that person credit for it. I'm like, this is amazing. I mean, I didn't take the picture, but I'm not going to dismiss. Oh, that's nothing but just this, and darkness or hot buckets.
You hear that another group goes into the basement of this building, this particular building, and captures this evidence of a little girl standing in this area. What's our first thought? We should go to that building, go down to the basement, and try and capture that same evidence. Why? Because that only emphasizes that the possibility of that ghost is actually there. It solidifies what we've been doing for how many years?
Yeah, but go back to the time that we were doing all of these investigations. There was it was like paranormal wars going on between the groups, and groups were trying to lay claim onto locations. Like, I'm the paranormal group that's going to be handling this. No one else can come in here. So everyone would try to get in to the Hulbert house and lay claim to it. Now, our other group at the time had a majority of everything. We had access to going in there now. We built a great relationship with the owners. But we never stood in the way of anybody else going in there. If someone else going in there, go ahead. I mean, it's for the owner's benefit, not for ours. And that's how we looked at it. So just to dismiss anything, I mean, I looked at the photo too. And I well, yeah, it could be this, it could be that. But you can't, it's hard to prove that it's real, but it's also hard to disprove it's not. You're basically, you're the same thing. You can't look and say that that's not real. But you can't look and say it is real. So you have to go with what you think. And I think they snapped it out. I know the people who took it, and I think they're legit, and I think it's a legit image. I went on based on that premise.
So to play devil's advocate with you two, so the other picture of the Civil War soldier in the doorway, I would question, I'm not questioning the authenticity of what they took a picture of. My question to our group at the time was, the shadow that they took a picture of fills out the entire doorway, which means the shadow was 6 foot 6 inches. Your average Civil War soldier was 5'2". So it's already over 1.5 feet taller than what the person should look like. Why is it so much bigger? I'm not debunking that you didn't take a picture of that. I'm just curious why it's projecting itself that much larger.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? To me, that's a question of...
That's legit.
The only answer I have to that is
angles.
The average Civil War soldier was 5'2".
5'2", 5'5", that was about, yeah.
I mean, how long have we lived in this area? There's not many people that are average around here.
Wow. Like when you start looking at uniforms of the time, I mean, you're thinking they're like kids' clothing, but that's full-grown male. I mean, we're part of that new giant. We're going back to the original biblical giants. We're getting taller and bigger. Like,
well, in one of the cases against that, some people in our past group posed against that picture of the girl in the basement. Was like, why would the girl be in the basement? I don't know. When I was a little kid, I used to go down and play in basements. I used to explore.
Yell at me for being in the basement, so I tried to be down there as much as I could.
Yeah. Well, she wouldn't be standing in front of the furnace like that. But how do you know that in her realm or her time or her dimension, whatever you want to call it, there's a furnace there? You know, I mean, basements, creepy to us now, were more like average, like every household business had in those days, and they used them for so much more. Now you go to creepy basements like, oh, we don't go down there. Back then, they actually had a purpose. They used them for storage to keep things cool and store wine, beer, food, and I mean, all kinds of things. So they basically were pretty well used compared to what they are now in older buildings.
Not for nothing, but my basement in the winter is a lot warmer than the rest of my house for the most part. So,
because it's underground.
Yeah. Well, I mean, my house is pretty
you
close
blow the
to
frost
Hulbert
line.
House. It's a 200-year-old house, so I mean, it would be as close as it could be back then.
Yeah. Exactly. So there you go. The arguments sometimes just don't make sense, but like Pete looked at it based on his knowledge of historical elements and said, okay, I'm not saying it's not real, but I question the authenticity based on these actual facts.
I would say maybe it's not a Civil War soldier. Maybe it's a lumberjack. Maybe it's a canal worker who would be that big. You know what I'm saying? Like a big dude working on trees. I mean, that's...
Yeah.
But at the same time, we don't go into these places or looking at this evidence trying to debunk it right off the bat now. We look at this stuff now and we're like, all right, let's go see if we can get that too. That way it'll, bring clarity to everything and say, listen, we got this. This group that we have nothing to do with got the same thing. You might have something here.
Yep. All right. Let's go. Let's I've got one more clip that I want to play of the several ones that I brought here. Now, this is good. I'll be honest with you. I haven't heard this clip. I don't know how long it is. And this is going to be the Deliverance one.
Oh, it's very long.
That's like 22 minutes, isn't it?
No, this is 10 minutes and 30 seconds, but I know the exact part.
Okay.
It's about 8 minutes in is when she actually goes.
So if we're talking here, can you set it up for us and we can go into it?
Do you
start
want
at
to
that
go
point?
straight to there, or do you want to play a little bit of the beginning part and then we'll...
No, I'll just explain it a little bit. And then Pete, interject anytime because you were there. So at the event, at the John Zaffis event, we finally made contact with the little girl. And we asked the little girl her name, I know, several times. And she kept coming back and saying, it's me. So we just kept calling her me. So this is at night. It was kind of late at night. And we had a large number of female guests that were part of our event for the weekend. And we're up in that third floor room. And we were talking to this female spirit. John Zaffis was running the spirit box. And a lot of the female guests kind of gathered around. And they're getting very emotional because they were talking to her. And the motherly instincts kicked on. And they're trying to get her to, correct me if I'm wrong, Pete. They're trying to get her to, like, move forward, to move out and go on to the light, to be with her family. And then they discovered, I think, that there was a spirit that was holding them back. And this is what I'm recollecting.
Was it Jim? It might have been Jim.
It could have been Jim. I thought it was Joe or John. But anyways, they were getting very emotional and crying. And as the emotions turned on and became greater, so did like the intensity in the room, and it almost like gave her energy, because at the end I remember she went to the light. I remember her seeing the light, and I remember her saying bye-bye, and she went. I do remember I walked into the room during this, and a scream came out of the spirit box, which sounded to me like a scream. It could have been just like a lot of loud static. And I remember John looking at me and go, "Get out of the room." And I walked out, and I was peeking through the door trying to watch it. And I think Dave walked in through, one of our other investigators walked through another door on the other side and did the same thing. And he got out of the room.
There was at one point, I'm not sure what point in this audio clip, but you can hear like somebody like walk in the room, and everybody in the room just start yelling, "Get out, get out."
Yeah, that might have been him. They got violent then.
Like
I walked in, it didn't happen, so they didn't know what to do. But then the second time, they're like, "Get out!"
My group had missed it. We were just coming up the stairs to the 3rd floor, and as I was on the stairs of the 3rd floor, I heard her from the other end say, "I can see the light." And I'm like, "What the hell are they doing up there?"
I went to the Conjuring.
Like, what the frig?
But the thing is that this clip, excuse me, has a lot of significance to what happened after that, because after this event, we've been back there and we have not gotten the type of things that we were getting when this spirit was there.
Yeah,
and we heard she was mainly probably the cause of most of it. Yeah. The stuff, this energy, the sightings, the all this stuff, the EVPs. So if you can get to that spot and play that.
I'm all set.
All right, go ahead. Let's hear it.
We're going to start it about 20 seconds before it happens.
Okay.
He can't stop you unless you let him go. Me, did you, Tom? Me, if you're afraid you're not going to see us after this, you will. Just go to the light. Go to the light. Wait.
You make it very loud.
Just do it. Bunny. Go to the light.
Did she say bye?
Yeah.
I mean, look, it puts chills on my all the hair standing up on my arm. You can see it's Tom. Tom is what they're getting mad. There was a spirit named Tom there. And I think Tom was attracted to that. Maybe Tom was there by himself. He's lonely, and he had this child spirit there, and he was keeping her there. And she was like probably scared to go out. Think of it this way. People used to get the flu and all kinds of plagues back then, and they used to get sick, and they would treat them at home, put the compresses on their head, and the doctor would come in, give them some elixir, and go. And a lot of times they would die in their homes. And if she died, being a young kid, and say she became a ghost in the sense that we consider a ghost or spirit, kind of woke up in this place, in a surrounding with nobody there. And then maybe she came across this guy named Tom. But she obviously wants to be with her parents, her mom and her dad, and she's asking for help because she's scared. She doesn't know where to go. She's by herself. I'm just rattling things off, but that's how I felt when I was listening to this.
And I know she kept calling herself me because we're asking, who are we talking to? And she said, me.
How cute is that? That even gives it to me more validity if she's just like, hey, it's me. Versus like, my name is Annabella or whatever, so.
Really, listening to that is 8 minutes before she says bye, and everyone says goodbye to her. But it's 8 minutes of her being told to go to the light, keep going to the light, and she keeps talking to them and saying, no, I can't, and then finally she gets it and says bye-bye, and she's gone.
Because there were a couple more interjections of Tom in there, if I recall. There's a few points where he was speaking up, and then all the ladies in the room told him to shut up, and there was a lot of pushback. And again, you're not seeing the whole 10-minute clip, but there was a lot of back and forth.
I wonder if there's a way that we can trim down the static in that clip
and turn that down a lot.
Probably can, but not right now.
No, I know that, but I'm saying for future. Like if we want to play that someplace,
we can try and do some cleanup work on it.
Let's play that again. Can you set that up again?
Because that recorder was right on whatever was.
Yeah, it was pretty close to the spirit box. Should have been spaced back a little bit, but.
All right, here we go. Prepare your ears.
Wait. Just do it. Bunny. Bye-bye, sweetie.
So I heard a no on the box. So we're going to have to clean that up. It's been a while since I heard this one. I think that was Tom saying no, because they're like, go to the light, and then there was a no in the back that I heard. I don't know if anybody else.
Maybe I was explained to me by, I can't remember if it was Chris Fleming or John Zaff or something like that, that sometimes people don't want to go to the light. They stay in this purgatory or this realm because they're afraid of being judged. They did something. They're afraid of being judged. Like, they're scared. Like, heaven and hell was instilled, right? I did some bad things. If I go to that light, I'm going to go to hell, you know? So that's why they're, like, trying to stay where they are, you know? And I thought about that a lot, and I'm like, yeah, that actually is a pretty plausible explanation in my mind. I mean, again, this is pseudoscience, but, again, that would make sense to me. So that's actually pretty cool.
So I wonder if we'll do our own comparison, see if it's the same voice from the bar. Since we have both referenced now, see if we can see a tone.
Oh, when she
if
asked
they're
for
the
help.
same tone.
Yeah, we could do that.
You guys can do that. You got all that soundical stuff. The musicals.
And then Pete gave us a whole bunch of different clips.
He's got, I don't know.
Those were all suppressed into the secret files. The one I know you played earlier doesn't really come through, but the one that was like, we have had enough. It's like, you've had enough.
I don't know. You don't got all these labeled correctly. I got one that's called Room 24-0808-0808-TS07.
Room 24 is where it was. I took a group up there. This patron, I'm not going to say who they and their family are, frequented many of our events up until that moment when they felt it was necessary to insult the spirit of Room 24, and I have never seen this after the fact. She said something, the box swore, the spirit box swore, and she's like, I'm going to wash your mouth out with soap. There were at least 10 people that had K2 meters in the room, and as soon as she said that, every K2 meter went red. And it came over clear as day on the box, and I didn't have the recorder running. I'm going to push you down the stairs, you fat, deleted expletive pig. And then all the meters went, and we're all looking at each other, and I'm like, we're done here. We're done here. So I walked the group to
Let's
the
just
stairs.
make she goes down the stairs first.
Well, I'm like, go ahead. She's like, what do you mean? I'm like, you insulted it. I'm not going first.
Yeah, we don't like to challenge things. I mean, I learned my lesson.
Water would drip in there. We would catch the water on the audio. They were screaming in that room. And if you would lay on the beds in there, I don't know if you ever took the chance to do that, you'd get that weird time spatial distortion, like you felt like you were moving, but you weren't moving. It was...
Oh, those beds were horrible, too. They're the old, like, you could feel the springs come right into you. You lay down, you could feel the springs right in your back. I'm like, I don't know how they basically sold those rooms to people, unless they were so drunk and they went up there and just passed out in the room, because it was, I mean, we stayed the night, but actually, we shared a room, but Pete slept on the floor. I brought a cot. I slept in a cot, and we had Alex with us, and Alex took the bed. Pete paid for the room. Alex took the bed. Pete
Well, at that point,
Pete slept on the
happy
floor.
with the...
No blanket. He just slept on the floor, the dirty old Hulbert carpet.
Yeah, I think it's funny that you brought up that we don't like provoking. Because there's one thing that Hulbert House is known for, and we're going to see it on the screen right now. So, there's one of the dolls that was in one of the bedrooms at Hulbert House, particularly the bedroom that the door always slams. And then here's Mr. We Don't Like to Provoke.
Oh, look at all the hair you had, Pete.
I know. Good God. That was, 20 years ago?
All that hair.
Talking Tina. That's what the label on the back said.
She's playing around with the...
Oh, my God. I swear to God, I was waiting for that thing to be in my house one day when I woke up after these investigations. Like she
Annabelle?
would just hang on to the tailpipe, and I would wake up, and she would be in the house. Creepy doll. Oh, number 3. I know we're running short on time. third most favorite moment of all ever in the Hulbert house, again, had nothing to do with the paranormal. They were having their Halloween party, and Eileen had all of her daughter's friends. They were all dressed up as zombies or ghouls or what the hell ever they were doing upstairs. Me, Steve, and Alex hid in one of the bedrooms on the third floor, and we were going to scare the patrons. But somehow the one young lady there, she was walking down the hall all by herself. Steve opened up the door very quietly and screamed her name like a demonic. He's like, Sarah. All I could see through the crack of the door was her feet literally came up about this high off the ground. She screamed, and then you hear boom, 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 boom down the stairs. We laughed. That was hilarious. Sarah.
Now,
again, had nothing to do with the paranormal, but that was hilarious.
Now, when we went to the Hulbert house after the deliverance and everything, after Maeve and I joined the group, it was really quiet. There was not really anything going on. We're sitting up on the second or third floor, and we were sitting in this room. Nothing, quiet. I hear Rich walking down the hall, and I was sitting in a chair just a way that I could actually see out the door. I could see the door across the hall, and Rich comes out, walks into the room, and that door slams shut behind him. So I think this is the third or fourth time that happened to you.
Probably.
And
you got the video clip?
It's like, oh, Rich must be on the third floor.
It's not that video clip, but we do have a video clip of the door slamming.
Okay.
But, I mean, that was my experience in the Hulbert house. Is I saw that, and I'm like, well, what the hell's his problem? And then he's like, guys, that just slammed behind me. Okay. So, here we go with the door slamming video clip.
You could see I was actually in the room away from the door, and I was like, what? It just slammed shut. I've seen too many horror movies like Michael Myers and all them, and you walk in a room, the door slams behind you. That's not a good thing. Mm-hmm. Why is that door slamming? It wants you to stay in the room. It wants to trap you in the room.
But it can't even trap you in the room, because that doorway, you can actually go around through the bathroom that was a shared.
Yeah, I didn't say it was a smart ghost.
But let's play that one more time. We lost Pete again.
Yeah.
Potty Pete has struck again. So
yes, he needs to bring the potty Pete. He used to bring the potty Pete everywhere as he went.
Let's see what our chair ghost is doing tonight.
Yeah, still hanging in there.
Yeah, being strong. He's coming back.
That scared the poop out of me. I'm sorry. It was like being there all over again, Rich. Like when that thing reached out and touched me. Do you remember I'm guessing the residual stuff is still there. Do you remember in the main banquet room, did you see the lady with the black and white dress apron thingy walk past the windows too?
No, I didn't see that.
There was that one I saw. I don't remember who was with me, but that same set of windows looking into the banquet room, there was maybe 5 foot tall, all black, but except the white here.
Oh, that would have been pretty wild. So I
would say she was 1880s, 1890s type of.
I think what happened is that the restaurant and the banquet room, one was an addition, because that looks like an exterior wall. These are 2 exterior windows, and a big opening that must have had an exterior door, and then he built a room onto it. So it's weird, because in one room you look, there's a door and 2 windows looking into the other room, and so it must have been, that was a ballroom, must have been an addition on there, afterthought. And that's where I saw the little girl. She's looking in one window, and she walked by the opening. The door was maybe like 4 foot wide, 5 foot wide maybe, and she walked right through to the other window to look in. So, and there's a fireplace back there. So the fireplace was lit. That gave some backlight. And then the bar door from the banquet hall was open, and gave us some backlight. And that's so I could see her so so prominent, but it was so dark. It was the blackest I think of black I've ever seen.
And you guys are brave too. At one point, didn't you walk into the attic, which would have been above the rooms on the second floor?
Yes.
Like you guys crawled down in and
Yeah, you had to go through like a.
I mean, it was still like a 20-foot
Yeah.
area up there. I mean, it
Yeah.
wasn't like a small, but you guys walked way out into.
Yeah, they put plywood down, and we walked out there, and we did investigation. It was hot and a lot of insulation and junk, and yeah. I mean,
we gave every part of that building a good.
Yeah. We worked it over pretty good. The basement, we did a lot of stuff down in the basement. The first floor, we did a lot there. The only room we didn't really go into to do investigation was the kitchen. I think we stayed pretty much out of the kitchen because they had the food and stuff in there, and we actually didn't want to know what was in there. I guess we saw the chicken wings that bleed. We're like,
the fireplace room used to have a lot of stuff where you've seen her and I've seen that other lady.
yep.
The room behind that, not so much. I don't think the dining room area was really. The banquet hall was where we did the fog.
Yeah. The bar didn't really have a lot going on in there. The kitchen was really nice. It was really big, and they had a lot of big walk-in. It was a really nice kitchen, man. If I had a kitchen like that, I could really whip up some dishes. But the kitchen and the bar are the only two places, honestly, that we didn't. I mean, we investigated the bathrooms up on the second floor. And there was one room or two that was locked because there was somebody living in there. We didn't go in there.
There was a front room. When he passed away, we went in with Kevin. That was the first time we were in
Okay,
that
so
room.
we were in there. All right, okay.
If you remember, the floor was ready to give way, and they're like, keep Pete out of that room.
Yeah, it was just so. I mean, the business has. I mean, it had challenges over years and years, and the cost of fixing that, bringing it up to speed, was just astronomical. The plumbing, electricity, flooring, all the replacing beds and sinks. I mean, you could imagine the expense associated with that. Being in Boonville, I mean, Boonville had one big weekend. It was like the Snow Fest or something, and they got busy that weekend. But that's not enough to sustain a business. I mean, Pete and I actually talked about one time turning that. She was thinking about like just giving someone else the restaurant to run. And Pete and I were talking about taking the restaurant over because we knew what that restaurant was missing. We knew people wanted to go take a ride. They wanted to go up and see this place. They wanted to eat there, but they needed like cuisine. They needed to come up with some dishes that the Hulbert house was really known for. And they didn't really have it. They had food. I mean, I ate it there with my family a couple of times. Food was good.
The fettuccine Alfredo was really good.
But there's nothing that, like, you got to go here because they got this dish. You know what I'm saying? And that's, like, you go to Cavallo's because, I mean, you got to go to Cavallo's because of spaghetti. They have that pasta that's awesome. So you can think of any restaurant that always have a special dish. And that's one thing you have to do. We were actually talking about leasing the kitchen and the restaurant out from her and basically coming up with our own menu and come up with a couple specialty dishes. And then we were pursuing it, and then it kind of fell away as they were getting out of it and didn't really want to even stay tied to it anymore. So there's a couple family members that owned it. And
I'm glad it's still standing.
Yeah,
That's
I miss
what
the
I'm
place.
grateful for. But
It's a beautiful building.
I miss the place. I miss Eileen and her family. They're always really good to us. It was a great place, and
like
I'm so
the
happy we had
Rutgers.
the opportunity to investigate it while it was there, and actually help launch it by getting it on a national television show, which I thought was cool.
And to be part of, if you believe in it, great. If not, it's on you. But if you help the spirit pass over, is a very heartwarming clip that you could be a part of.
Yeah. I mean, we talk about helping families. What about helping spirits? We help families deal with their paranormal problems and rid something of the house. Here's basically a spirit that's scared. It was a soul. It was a human at one time. It's scared, so the emotion is with it still. That, to me, amazes me because it's not some little energy ball, but it's actually, help me. I want to move on. It's like, it feels, I mean, physically maybe not, but if emotionally it feels, this type of thing. So it was good to help a spirit, especially a spirit of a child in need to push on and move. So
it had that real life horror movie vibe to it. Not like you're going to die there, but it's like this creepy, suspenseful movies. It's like you never knew what was going to actually happen when you got there. You kind of figured something was going to happen, but you didn't know what. So you were always personally a little tense before going in there, because like Kevin's saying, is tonight the night all hell's going to break loose and I'm going to really find out what's in here? Like, all of a sudden this 20-foot demon just comes out of the toilet and it's like,
Pete was in here last.
I knew there was a little girl there.
The chicken.
But I was hoping there was no well, because I kept thinking of that horror movie where she comes out of the well and through the TV screen. I'm like, there's no wells in here, is there?
The kid's walking backwards on her back. Finally,
No, that is freaking creepy. I'm sorry, that is just one of the most creepiest things ever. So, well,
it had the potential, because that kid saw and talked to Eileen's grandmother. I mean, it always had the potential to just boom, it's right there. Like,
yeah,
you were the right person at the right time, and boom, it was right there, right in your face.
So there's obviously other spirits than the little girl.
Yep. And that
Eileen's
potential
grandmother
is still there for the new owner. If you want to reach out to us, we are here.
Yes. If you'd like investigation, if you'd like us to check it out, please reach out to us on our Facebook page at Agent
If you're
Paranormal.
still interested in doing events up there, we are available.
We just need to get through the COVID.
Well, that goes for any place that wishes to host us. I would love to get us in Hyde Hall. The couple times we were in there, that one also felt like it was getting ready to punch you right in the face. Like, here
huge.
it comes. Like,
Huge place.
something's
Absolutely
going to happen. Like, it's going to happen. Boom, there you go.
beautiful, huge, and it's like one of those old houses. There's a lot of little corners that you're like, I'm not going to go down that hallway or around that bend, because there's like, there's something to just reach out and grab. It's a beautiful place. It's absolutely huge, and it's nice to see that it's so well preserved, and they're actually remodeling the big kitchen area. They're going to do a lot of work in there. But to be honest with you, it'd be a house that'd actually be really cool to live in. I mean, you get off that big living room, it had these cool little office areas and parlors and stuff. I thought that was just little diners. I just thought that was so neat.
That main bedroom, the whole wall open to the outside, and there's the lake. Like,
it's cool. So that is our show tonight, people, and thank you for tuning in with us and to what.
That one clip really
Stumbling
scared
on
the
my
poop
words.
out of me. I had to go poop. That was like the
good to
door
know.
slammed.
Good to know.
Once again, as we say every time, if you're looking for any kind of advertising, please reach out to Disruption Network. We'll be happy to get your ads up on here in the show. And also, I believe we're talking about trying to do a Halloween show.
Halloweeny?
So stay tuned. Listen for any kind of announcements for that.
Yeah, and follow us on Facebook at Agent Paranormal, and like us. Send us if you have a paranormal problem or someone's having a paranormal issue. We are available for consults as well as investigations.
You guys just went out, right? You guys just went out.
Yep, well, we just went out and
so things are starting to happen again now. I mean, I know it's been rough.
Yep. And then also follow us on Disruption Network and reach out to them on social media, Disruption Network. They've got a lot of great programs. So, we'll be talking to you in 2 more weeks. And please have a very safe and awesome night. And we'll scare you later.